And now we are in Austria with Michael Gindl's Little Buteo, and I'm going to mispronounce the region that he's in, but it's interesting to start with. So he's from Weinviertel, something like that. But it's like the region where they produce the mass-produced Grüner Veltliner in Austria. So Austria is famous for its Grüner. This is Grüner. But this is like a major departure from what you would traditionally get out of this region that I'm not going to try to pronounce again. And Michael is a really amazing natural wine producer. So he does all of his wines 0-0, so no added sulfur. And he is only 33. He's been certified Biodynamic since about 2014, and his wines are just unbelievable. So I'm very excited to have this one in almost all the clubs this month, and to have it as part of our cheese tasting, because I think that it is such an interesting and like perfect example of what you can do with Grüner and how it compare with these cheeses. So like I said, it's not like your traditional Grüner. It is half whole stem pressed, which means that it'll have a little bit more depth to it because it's getting all the stems in with it for half. The other half has 4 to 8 hours of skin contact. So hours, not days or anything. This is not an orange wine. Well, in theory, like I would not define this as an orange wine, but both of those things are going to give it a great amount of depth and intrigue. And the final thing, it rests on its lees for about 6 months. Lees are a really big way that people, especially like 0-0 producers, they'll use the lees and like extended lees contact so that they don't have to put sulfur into it. So that's a really typical way, or skin contact. All of those things are stabilizing things in wines. So that's going to allow the wine to need less done to it, because if you just directly press white wine and leave it, it's way more likely to have issues than if you let it have skin contact or let it have lees contact. So that's a bit about it. And we kind of know, we have some hints based on everything I just said of what it might taste like and why it might be different than the Grüner. But let's start at the top. So, oh man, it's just so good. It's so not what you expect from a Grüner. So it's like almost like it's like textural, and I haven't even tried it yet. Like I know there's just like this like amazing texture to it. So it's got on the top, like there's fruit, but I'm not going to start talking about those till the bottom, because the more interesting thing that I'm getting is more like grassy notes, like, oh man, there's just like, this is a very complex, very interesting wine. There's just a lot going on here. So it's like a little bit grassy. It's got like stones, like wet stone is what I would describe it. I've never tried to describe you what the rock is, because like I said, I don't really know, but I do feel like there's a big difference when it smells and tastes like a wet stone versus like I will say chalky a lot of times, just because like almost more for the texture of it. So this is like wet gravel on your driveway. And then if you go down here and we actually get into the fruit, it's just like a citrus bomb, but not like a super acidic one. It's like, yeah, it's like the Meyer lemon version, like a candied lime, even like a hint of orange, not a lot of orange, but like a hint of maybe like, what are those little like cuties called? Something like that. So needless to say, there is a ton going on in this wine, and I just cannot wait to drink it. So we're going to do that next. Man, this guy is just so impressive. I already mentioned that he's only 33. Like, wow. So it's just incredibly complex. The finish is so long. Everything I just mentioned is there. But what's interesting is like 6 months of lees contact is a lot. And a lot of times that can make the wine feel a little bit heavy. This is obviously Grüner, which Grüner is normally like light and fresh. So that's going to a little bit combat it. But like normally it can weigh heavy on your mouth. And like while it does have like a medium body, it is fresh, it is crisp, like it is like cutting through everything in there. It's got structure, it's got all the grassiness I talked about. Like it is just, this wine is everything. Like I don't know what else to tell you guys. If you don't like white wine, I think this is like hopefully a good example of like how magical and complex and different white wine can be. And also it's just like, one step away from also being orange wine, which is the gateway of red wine people away from red wine. Yeah, wow. And then as far as pairings go for it, like it could go with so many things. And we're going to talk about all the different types of cheeses I would put with it on the 28th. So I'm going to stay away from cheeses. I'm gonna go with like a interesting pairing. Well, it's not that interesting. Asian food and spicy food is famously good with Gruner. And I would say that this one is even better just because it does have a little bit more complexity than the regular Gruners will have. Like that roundness to it, I think is very unusual, honestly, to pair with something like Asian food, but because of like the finish and like, I don't know exactly how much residual sugar it has, but it seems like it still has just enough that like it's not gonna keep burning your mouth or anything. Like the structure and like the balance of acid and residual sugar that's left is gonna be really good for that. So like pull out your curries, go get your bibimbap, whatever. And I don't spice the crap out of it, but you know, like it's gonna be able to stand up to some spice. So that would be my number one pick. But literally it could go with so many things. You could put it with fish, you could put it with, you know, pork with some sort of like mango salsa. I know I say that a lot, but like would be great with this. And yeah, and tune in on the 28th if you want to know about the cheese pairings too. And if you haven't gotten the cheeses yet, you still have time. The wines, we don't have enough time, but you already have the wine, so you're good. Enjoy.